Welcome to Page to Screen, the podcast where Nikki and Christina discuss books that were turned into movies and films that were adapted from books. As always, we do remind you that spoilers lay ahead. Now, we invite you to decide with us the age-old question, which is better, the book or the movie?
Happy holidays, Page to Screen listeners. Tell Fizzywigs.
Happy holidays!
Yeah. Tell Fizzywigs you're going to be late to his party because it's time for the second annual Christmas Carol Page to Screen episode. Woo, woo, woo,
Yay!
woo. Joining as always is my favorite ghost host, Christina.
Hello, Nikki. How are you doing?
I'm so jolly. I'm so upset about the last episode, but it's okay. It's okay.
The Grinch is going to do what the Grinch is going to do.
I know.
We can't stop him, Nicole.
I know. He's Benedict Cumberbatch. What can I say? you do whatever he does. But it's okay because we get to have a very Murray Christmas with this episode.
No, yeah, I mean, I'm so hype about this. I'm very excited about it. We are doing the 1988 film Scrooged. So this is our second annual A Christmas Carol tradition. Last year we went super traditional with it.
Yeah.
Now we are doing the modern comedy retelling of the classic. This is directed by Richard Donner, starring obviously Bill Murray, with a ton of cameos and other very fun people showing up. And it's about the same story, but of course it is taking place between like the 1950s and 1980s, and it is a TV executive instead of the traditional Scrooge.
Yeah, there are so many people. So many people in this movie that it blows my mind every time I watch it because I'm like, I know you from somewhere else every time.
The fun part about it is that it's not just like you're watching a movie and it's a bunch of 1980s people. You've got like Robert Mitchum. You've got all these different people from different areas. You've got the lead singer of the New York Dolls. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, I do personally. I don't know about you, but personally, I would like to watch Bob Goulet's old-fashioned Cajun Christmas. But
I would just die.
Every time that shows up and he's just like on that little river boat.
My favorite part is when he like is nervous and looks to the side like, oh shit.
Yeah. It's just so good. It's so good.
Well, what about Lee Majors with like the giant machine gun from Predator?
Listen, I sent Christina a message because I stand by this. Like, I had just finished watching The Santa Claus right before we watched this. And in The Santa Claus, as everyone knows, they were pitching this toy with a commercial where Santa is riding on an army tank down the street. And I was like, holy crap, this is where that toy came from, right?
Now, I have a question. When did you first watch Scrooge for the first time?
Honestly, I don't remember. It used to be on AMC every year. And this is, I feel like, the first year I have not seen it on AMC. I actually, like, rented this from Amazon because it was not on TV, and I was devastated that I could not find it on TV.
Yeah. I feel like because I thought I would have to go and buy it this year, and it turned out I had already bought it. And I want to say that something similar must have happened to me within the last year or two, where I was probably waiting for it to come on TV, and then it didn't, and I must have bought it around Christmas time as I was fed up of being impatient.
But you remember, it was on, like, AMC used to do their Christmas countdown, and this movie was on every day. Every night at 7 o'clock, this movie would start, and it was like, don't you guys have anything else? I was like, yeah, I'll watch it like maybe once or twice, but do you really have to show it every weekend? This is like their version of
A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, honestly, more networks should do 24 hours of something. Like, sure, we got you guys doing your Christmas Story crap. AMC, do 24 hours of Scrooged and only Scrooged. Hey, BBC America, do 24 hours of a super traditional Christmas Carol. I don't know.
I honestly get a little annoyed around both Halloween and Christmas time that there are less horror and holiday movies playing on TV. I feel like what are you doing? Why are you showing me, I don't know, these old The Office episodes?
Yeah.
Show me Scrooged. I want to see that.
Well, I think that's where Christina and I have both holiday fact for you guys. Christina and I have both really gotten into Hallmark Channel original movies. But I think that's why. It's a consistent stream of holiday films that I don't have to think about. Literally, you don't have to think to watch these movies. They're just there. It's done.
See, the one thing that I will say that I love about Scrooged is I think that it does make you think, and it brings a lot of weight of what I actually really love about the holidays and the holiday season, and what I believe it should teach all of us, just to love one another and try to be a good person. And that is in Scrooge that I appreciate.
Yeah, I have always loved his speech at the end.
I love
about
his
Christmas
speech
Eve,
at the end.
where it's true. It's like, you have this one really good day with all these really good feelings. Why can't we have that all the time? And I feel that every day. I'm like, why can't I feel this good as I feel now every day?
Yeah, and with Scrooged, and I'm sure we'll get further into it with the very mixed reviews about this movie.
Yeah.
A lot of people did not appreciate the whole last speech of Bill Murray, because what happens if you haven't seen the movie is that when he has his breakthrough moment, it's very like erratic, and he interrupts a live showing of A Christmas Carol that is being broadcast on national television. And Bill Murray was allowed to really just improv and go with it, and he did not stick to his script in that last part. And a lot of critics said that it was bad because he was being so manic and erratic, and someone said it's like he's having a mental breakdown. And I'm like, well, that's the fucking point. What are you talking about?
Yeah. This is what I love about Scrooged is, so you take this classic piece of Dickens where it's so set apart from what we know today. And honestly, what happens to Bill Murray in this movie, the way he's like interacting with the ghosts and everything, and how he thinks he's having a nervous breakdown, I would be the same way. I related to this so hard, where it's just like, well, what would I do? What would I do if a ghost just like was my cab driver? I don't know what to do either. Like, of course I'd be paranoid and drinking by myself in an office.
Every time, like, there's the two that gets me. Like, when he gets the photograph of his brother, and then he like drinks the scotch and he's crying, and then later on when he's standing in front of the window and you just see him pouring the vodka into a glass. I mean, if you're being forced to speak to ghosts for a long period of time in one day, I think all of us would be a little perturbed by that.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't. One of the scenes that really pulls that all together is when he thinks he sees death in the elevator. And honestly, first reaction as well. And then they're like, it's just the guy in the costume. And you're like, oh, okay. But see, that's me. That would be me. I'd be jumpy about everything. Everyone around me would be a ghost. You know what I mean? It'd be like the end of Star Wars. I'd be like, are you a ghost? No, you good? Okay, fine. Because you don't know what to look for, you know?
Well, and his character, he has like this nice trajectory because he is belligerent to the first two ghosts. And you can see him having these moments where he's crying, looking at his mom. He is upset by what he did with his ex Claire, but he's still fighting against it. Like, he still doesn't want to acknowledge that there's something wrong with him.
Yeah. So if for anyone who listened to our last episode that dropped, which was a recap of the actual novel, you'll know that Ebenezer Scrooge is a crotchety old fart who only wants money. And I thought it was so interesting to make this new Scrooge like the exact opposite. It's not that he doesn't want money, but he wants to elevate his position at the company. But he's very outgoing. He doesn't go home at night to his dead friend's giant house with the big stairs. He's very personable, and he likes to be around people. It's such an interesting way to flip that character.
Yeah, and I think it's a good way to modernize it and I think we talked about this last year when we talk about, I know a lot of people that I wish I could send 3 ghosts to. Yep. Most of them are in politics.
Most of
I
them
think
still need those ghosts.
Yeah, I think they need to get visited. And I like this one because him being a television executive, that's kind of who you think about now. You think about people who have power, and that back in the day would have been someone more similar to Ebenezer Scrooge, but in modern times that's more akin to those that are in power over certain aspects of our life. And the way that he is trying to control the ebb and flow of what people are seeing and how it is affecting them, like the grandma dying because she's so afraid that she's gonna miss watching the special. I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about with nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's this version, I feel like, is something that is extremely relatable. And for anybody who's just getting into Dickens, I feel like this is a good place. I mean, let's get real. There are 2 other movies that I think would be great places to start, but this one's up there. Muppet Christmas Carol coming soon. But I think this one's up there.
If I were teaching fiction in like high school, I would try to get kids into that kind of stuff by showing them things like A Christmas Carol and Scrooged and Emma and Clueless.
Yeah.
That is what I think it brings it to them, where they can actually relate to it. And Scrooged, I think, is actually more relatable now than maybe it even was in 1988. I mean, I wasn't around yet, but that's my assumption just based on the reviews and how it's such a cult classic.
Yeah. And I like this idea that this film puts out, that, you know, in the book we have Ebenezer Scrooge, who is a man. And in this movie, it's kind of like the idea of Scrooge versus the man of Scrooge. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Where it's like anybody can be a Scrooge, but not everybody is Scrooge.
Yeah, and it's very clear that he has this parallel adventure that he's going through for Scrooge, but they're never like so on the nose about it.
Yeah.
It's like they keep making fun of it, but they're not, no one goes, hey, this is what's happening to you.
Yeah. It's because it's also something where it's like you could definitely pick out, I'm like, just like we said, we know some people who could be visited by some ghosts. Everybody knows that one person who, especially at this time of year, is a Scrooge.
Yeah.
You know? And it's nice to, this movie gives me this sort of idea that's kind of like when in It's a Wonderful Life, how they just send an angel down to like fix somebody's life. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
they must do that all the time. Like there just must be like a whole network of angels coming down and fixing people's lives left, right, and center. Like, I think that's the same thing. Like, oh, that guy's a Scrooge. Get the ghost. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, you know, aside from just the effects of Scrooge and his story, I feel like Scrooge the movie balances Christmas with horror a lot better than other adaptations of Scrooged. And this was another one that was in the reviews a lot, where they're complaining about tonal shifts and how they're not too sure if it's supposed to be bleak or cheery. And as I'm reading, I'm like, well, did you read the original novella?
Yeah.
Because that shit's scary. What are you talking about?
It is literally a ghost story that is more suited for Halloween than it is for Christmas. Like, the ghosts are relentless. I mean, the Ghost of Christmas Present's got 2 children feeding off of his body. Like, what are you talking about?
When I saw Scrooged when I was maybe like 11, and so I'm older, but I wasn't really into horror movies when I was a kid. So when I watched Scrooged and the ghost of the yet to be ghost shows up, and he looks inside of his body, and it's like those little figures holding on to like the spinal. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, it still gets me. It's so scary.
Oh, yeah, and he's got a TV face and all this stuff. Like, he's spooky. He's
I
really
like
spooky. Yeah, it works so well. And I think what's funny is when you look at the poster for Scrooged, just looking at the poster itself, you know that they're going to touch on some of the darker aspects of Dickens, even though it looks like it's fun. It's just a dark comedy. I think we can officially call it that.
Yeah, I mean, he says it himself. Bill Murray says, we don't want to scare the Dickens out of them. Like,
oh, and no one gets his joke.
No.
I think that's one of my favorite parts. I'm like, I think
love
it's
that
so
part.
funny. It's so funny. That and when they dress up Calvin as the Christmas tree. So cute.
Don't plug him in.
Don't plug him in. He's just so cute. That little boy is so cute.
Well, I think that's another reason why this movie's so good is because of Grace and her family. And I think that she is, maybe aside from a little green frog, she may be my favorite version of Bob Cratchit.
Yeah. She makes a great Bob Cratchit. Just the idea of a woman on her own whose husband just died, like it's the perfect Bob Cratchit, and you don't need all of the other. I don't think you need all the other random stuff. Like Calvin didn't need to have a terminal disease, to make it heartfelt at the end. I think a lot of people get hung up on what Tiny Tim is supposed to be, and not how he could be translated.
Yeah.
Do you cry?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, same.
You know what part gets me? I could cry right now just thinking about it. When it's at the end and it's Bill Murray and he's having his manic episode and he's talking to the camera and then it keeps cutting back to Claire at the...
at the homeless shelter?
Yeah, at like the facility. Yeah. And then when he finally, I've got goosebumps. Oh. When he finally says Claire, and then it cuts to her and she just smiles and everybody in the facility starts screaming, I sob. I break down. And then I'm doing the thing where I'm like crying, but I'm happy. So I'm like crying with a big smile on my face.
That's me when Calvin talks at the end of the movie.
Aww.
I'm just like, when he comes out and he's like, well, did I forget anything else, little man? And he's like, yes, God bless us, everyone. And then you see his mom's face and you see Bill Murray's face and Bill Murray is crying and I was just like, it's fine. I'm like, I'm fine. It's cool. And then they sing a song afterwards and I'm like sobbing while everyone's singing. It's a good time. A good time was had by all.
Who is your favorite ghost? I mean, it's really like two, but
I was gonna ask you that too.
Really?
Yes. I feel like a lot of people think the Ghost of Christmas Present is their favorite.
See,
I like
feel
the
like,
Ghost of Christmas Past.
Yeah, I feel like growing up, I've had like a seesaw with it because growing up, I think my favorite was the Ghost of Christmas Past, but now I think it's the Ghost of Christmas Future. I mean, Ghost of Christmas Present is my favorite now.
See, I've always liked the Ghost of Christmas Past. There's something about him.
Yeah.
When he's like, Niagara Falls. I'm like,
that's my favorite part. Niagara Falls.
Just like his dirty teeth and his Christmas decked out cab. I'm like, I am living for this ghost.
And did you...
I love the Ghost of Christmas Present, and she wags him in the face with the toaster. I'm like, everything about this is great. But there's something about him.
Did you notice the name of his cab?
Wasn't it Bell Cab?
Yes. It's like the Bell Cab Company. So that's a nod to the name of the love interest in the Dickens story. Yeah.
Which never really makes an appearance for long enough in any other version of A Christmas Carol. You notice that? They just kind of gloss over that. And that was a big chunk of the book.
Yes. And I read about how Bill Murray fought to expand the part of Claire and their love story. And I am so glad that he did because we said this too, that character kind of gets just shit on. Yeah. And I'll say just from other adaptations that you and I know of, like that she doesn't really have too many scenes in a lot of other adaptations. But Claire in this story, I think, is a really cool female character and is written well, played by Karen Allen, who I think we all adore. Yes. And it just works. Yeah, I think it's really important, and I do like that this adaptation kept in a lot of things from the book that a lot of people shy away from, like the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Be having, want and ignorance in its chest. That's something you don't see. Muppets didn't do it, I'll tell you that much. That doesn't mean I don't love the Muppets. Mickey Mouse didn't do it either, neither did Mr. Magoo. No one else brings up those creepy dying children. They're so scary.
They're very scary, and that's why people don't bring it up. But it works. It works in this one. That works, and she has a full story as a love interest, which is I find to be super important because in the book she has a full story. Like,
yeah,
I'm so tired of people glossing over that aspect of it. Like, it was important to Scrooge's life. It should be important in every adaptation.
one of my favorite moments for the character of Claire is when they have their super cute meet cute when they hit their heads, and then that's where he gets his nickname Lumpy from her. And then he says, like, hey, there's a party, you want to go? And she goes, no, not really. Sorry. And walks away. I love that. I can't think of any other romantic comedy where there's a meet cute and the female character walks away and she doesn't want to go, because I think that as women, like, sometimes if someone invites you to something and you think they're kind of cute, you'll maybe just go.
Yeah.
And she actually says, no, I don't want to do that, and walks away. And then he, like, gets her back and they become a couple. And I just love that. I think that's, like, a nice touch of her character.
Yeah, they're very strong. She's an independent individual, and I think that's important. And
on Christmas Eve, she's smoking a joint in a bathtub by herself before they open presents. Like, that's such a cool character.
And I also love the fact that Bill Murray gets his brothers in the movie. His actual real life brothers. And it's so fun. I think Ron Howard does this all the time. But it's interesting to see other people do it too, and to have the roles that they are. I mean, one of Bill Murray's brothers plays his dad in the flashback, which, wow, what a head trip for Bill Murray, right?
I'm only 4.
Also, can we talk about when he goes back into the past and he's like, I did a lot of things. I played baseball. And he's like, that's a courtship of Eddie's father. There was that girl with the pigtails. We were running through the field of dates. That was a little house on the prairie.
But I like that part of his character because I think that we are in this group of people that I think my husband, I know, was raised on TV, and you and I and a lot of our friends were raised on movies. And it's like, it's this weird new version of people in, like, modern times and in the past, like, 50 years who a decent amount of their childhood, the TV is a big part of it. Yeah. And for Frank Cross, that was his entire life. And so, of course, that's the thing that he becomes obsessed about as a human, and he's unable to actually connect to other people.
Oh, yeah. Having the TV as a babysitter was always the best. And it's interesting to think about it that way, because if I am not saying they should do this, I am saying firmly, do not touch this with a 10-foot pole, okay? If a remake was to be made, I know I just put it out there and I can taste it in my mouth and I want to vomit. I think that they would change television to the internet.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I don't even mind if they make another. I mean, they're going to keep making A Christmas Carol. We're not going to stop them from doing that.
Yeah, but don't make another Scrooged.
Yeah, no, thank you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, make a million Christmas carols all you want. But if I am watching a movie and I find out that it is basically Scrooged, but with the internet instead of television,
Why don't they just do that? Instead of calling it Scrooge, they call it Ebenezered.
Oh my God. Stop. No, stop giving them ideas, Christina.
That's a horrible movie title.
We've already given them ideas. What? Or they're going to change it to Caroled.
Carol. Starring Charlie Day.
Actually. Crap. Well, Christina, now you got me thinking about it. Like, stop. Stop right now.
Well, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia did do A Christmas Carol. That's their It's Always Sunny Christmas special. And they do it to Frank.
Yeah. Carol. Crap. You know what's funny? I love this movie, but every time I watch it, I always wonder what it would be like if Bobcat wasn't in it, and instead we replaced him with Rick Moranis.
I love Bobcat. Rick Moranis would be fine too, but I really love Bobcat in
He's
this movie.
so good, especially at the
Yeah.
end when he's I can't even like no, you know what my favorite part is with him is when he's been fired and he's sitting outside and he's like, you know the thing about the bus? When he's talking, you know, there's like a lot of dignity with taking the bus. Like I can't. I just want to give him a hug.
I love when you talk and this is another thing I like about this movie, that I think it gets the idea of classism and all of that the original story has, and I think that is definitely lost in a lot of adaptations.
Yeah.
And this includes it, but the funny thing is you've got like the guy from the homeless shelter that dies because he was out in the cold.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like something you can completely grasp and take care of. But Bobcat, he just got fired. Within hours of getting fired, he is now, I guess, divorced, homeless, and completely lost himself in alcoholism. And it's like, bro, it's been like 5 hours.
It's like, you good?
Like, what have you done in the last 5 hours? And I get it because they have to like consolidate what is very likely to have happened to him over a period of like weeks or months, but it's all consolidated within the matter of just a couple hours.
Yeah. It's it's just so crazy. You know, that is something though. I feel like this movie is short. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like as soon as it, and honestly, I felt that way. You feel that way with a couple adaptations. Like I feel that way watching all different sorts of Christmas Carol adaptations. But this one, and I don't know if it's because you're so into it, that it just like flies right by. But it just feels like there's like nothing, you know, like you blink and you'll miss it.
Yeah, because I actually this is one of those movies that I probably didn't even need a rewatch for. Like, I just know it pretty well, but of course I did. And
humble brag.
We watched it. Brag. We watched it over 2 nights. And the first night that we started watching it, I did that thing where my husband was like, I'm kind of sleepy, but we can start it. I'm like, okay, cool. And we're on the couch and I'm watching it. And then I wake up. And I'm like, wait, what? And the movie was over, and I'm like, when the hell did I even fall asleep? And I fell asleep like halfway through, but it felt like I was only asleep for like 5 minutes. It wasn't that type of thing where you fall asleep and it's a deep sleep. It just felt like one of those quick sleeps. But the movie is fairly short, so it was very like disconcerting for a moment.
Because that's like really, really my only gripe with the whole film.
Isn't it like 95 minutes? Isn't it only like an hour and a half?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Which, like, and it just goes by so fast, especially if you cut out the song at the end.
I love that song. Don't you fucking dare.
I like when he's like, left side of the audience.
Yeah. And I love that song. And that song, to me, is very much a Christmas song, but it's not a Christmas song.
No, and it's not. It's not a traditional Christmas Carol, but I can see it becoming like it's never going to become a traditional Christmas Carol, but it should.
I have it on my Christmas playlist.
See, I think here's the deal. I love Do They Know It's Christmas Time? But if you listen to the lyrics, it's a real crap song.
Yeah.
The greatest gift they'll get this year is life. Cheers to you, raise a glass for everyone. Here's to them underneath the burning sun. Oh my God, great holiday cheer for everybody. This song has more holiday cheer than that song does. And I have to listen to that song when it comes on the radio like 100 times this year. So, you know, it's kind of problematic.
I do have something embarrassing to say about the song.
Say it right now.
Okay, I haven't thought about this in years either, so it's kind of making me laugh. So that song it's sung by Annie Lennox, which is funny because that is now the second song that she has provided to an adaptation that we've done. The other one was the love song for a vampire in Dracula.
Yep.
Somewhat unfortunate. And this song, though, is rad as hell. And the other person singing is Al Green, who I thought was a woman when I was a kid. Yeah. I honestly, if you had asked me at like 10 years old who sings this song, I would say that scary lady from the Eurythmics and probably like Aretha Franklin or something.
I'm sorry, I've died. I am now a ghost. I will be auditioning for Ghost a Christmas Present.
So you can
Oh
only
my
imagine
God.
my shock when later on I was listening to that on something and I saw like the picture of Al Green. I'm like, who the fuck is that? Who's this guy?
Surprise!
You don't think his voice is somewhat like feminine sounding?
Well, I think he can hit some very good notes that women can also hit, but I think maybe I just knew I just knew he was a guy. I just assumed it was like that like doo-wop-y sort of situation, you know?
It's still a good song, no matter
It's a great
what.
song.
But I definitely thought it was like Aretha Franklin or something.
I love it. I love it so much. I love it. This is my favorite thing. This is a gift that keeps on giving. You know what? You just put a little love in my heart.
No, and I love that song. I think it's just it's fun. It's got good energy. It's got that beautiful like 80s dance breakdown in the middle of it. I don't know. It's got good Christmas vibes for me.
Yeah. The other thing I love about this is how meta the movie is, because they are producing a live version of A Christmas Carol while he's having his Christmas Carol experience, which is why I think that there's like an army of angels that just come down and do past, present, future for hundreds of people. See, that's okay. I'm putting this out here, and maybe it's a little crazy. TM. A movie that is not technically a Christmas Carol, but it's the angels auditioning to be past, present, and future in people's lives. Just throwing it out there. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's like the angels all hanging out. Like, I could totally do past.
So you are envisioning a like Monsters Inc. version of heaven.
Yeah.
Wherein angels have to compete to become past, present, and future.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can have the one who's like, look at me, I'm ugly. I should be the ghost of Christmas yet to be. And they'll be like, whoa, dude. What?
Look at me. I died in a car accident. I'm scary as hell. Make me a ghost of
Listen,
things yet to be.
Yeah. Listen, I lived before computers. Make me the ghost of Christmas past. I can see it. I'm envisioning it as a comedy. It's going to be great. It's going to have Paul Rudd, Will Ferrell.
We can't cast Paul Rudd in everything.
Why not?
You're like, bitch, watch me.
Taika Waititi's going to be all up in there too. He's going to play the head angel who's assigning everybody jobs. Try me, Christina, try me.
Well, actually, wait a minute. Speaking of meta, they're putting on the show of A Christmas Carol while it's actually happening to him. But then in real life, they started filming this, I think, December 1987. And Richard Donner just automatically in the schedule put them as being off Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and the day after Christmas. And when Paramount saw that, they wanted production done immediately so that they could guarantee a November release in 1988. So they demanded that they work through Christmas.
I saw that. Did you see what he did?
Yeah, he fired everybody on Christmas Eve, let them have 2 days off, and then hired them all back so that they came back to work on the 27th. So they only had to work Christmas Eve, but they were off the days after, which, bravo,
Yes.
Donner.
Yes.
Like, good on him, but also Paramount. What the hell is wrong with you? That's literally what the movie is condemning, and you want it to be done.
I read that too, and I was like, y'all know what happens when you make people work on Christmas, right? You get visited by 3 ghosts. Like, have you not been paying any attention to anything ever? Like,
it's almost like you didn't read the book.
yeah. Come on, you guys. It's almost like you don't know what this is about. Come on. Come, read the script. We'll tell you. Like, it's so, like, I saw that and I was like, are you kidding me with this?
I know.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like, that's insanity. That and the fact that Roger Ebert said this was the worst film adaptation of A Christmas Carol blew my mind.
Roger Ebert, I feel like if you did a compilation of any time we've talked about him, he's usually hella wrong.
Mm-hmm. But, okay, wait. Is he wrong because he's disagreeing with us, or is he just wrong in general?
Both.
Okay. Yeah, Roger Ebert, like, he's an institution. You know, you see these reviews. Roger Ebert says 2 thumbs up, whatever. I'm gonna put this out here for 2022. We don't read the reviews. We don't focus on the reviews. Okay?
Oh.
For all movies, like, moving forward, we don't need reviews. I think people need to see, because that stops people from seeing movies. If someone sees a review and it's like, womp womp, this movie sucks, are you gonna want to watch it?
Or the opposite. I mean, I haven't looked at it recently, but this year, 2 movies that I really did not like were Cruella and The Jungle Cruise, and both have amazing reviews. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I won't respond to it.
Christina, I'm telling you, what you do is you watch Jungle Cruise first, then you watch Cruella after.
Yeah,
Cruella's superior film.
But no, you're right though. I mean, reviews can sometimes provide a little bit of insight, but they're definitely not the end all be all of a film. And Roger Ebert himself has many times gone back and he would say, like, this is my review from back then. I rewatched it. I disagree with myself. Yeah,
and he should disagree with himself.
He should.
Put my foot down. I disagree with you, Roger Ebert. Wasn't he the one who did the he did the sequel to Valley of the Dolls?
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, Roger Ebert. Snooze. Awful.
I mean, I do want to talk about Carol Kane.
Yeah.
The Ghost of Christmas Present.
Adorable.
I love her.
I love her.
I love her.
She can do no wrong. I love her.
Yep. Good thing we're in agreement on that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize it until watching it this time around, which is always like why doing this with you is so much fun, that she is so much of Glinda the Good Witch from Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Her look, the voice, the hair. She even has like a line that is similar.
Taken directly from the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. How cool is that?
It's great. Like, I love everything about that, especially when you think about it in the context of who, you know, Bill Murray's character is, who lived his life in front of the television. One of the first movies that was played consistently on television was The Wizard of Oz.
Amazing.
So when you're thinking about, like, how he literally was raised by television, that's how he's going to see these ghosts.
Yeah.
It's like at the end of Star Wars when, you know... Actually, no, they changed it, so now you see young Anakin. Never mind.
I know what you're talking about, though.
Why'd they change it? He's not going to know who that guy is. Who's that random? Why is Hayden Christensen here? I don't know him.
Luke Skywalker asks, why is Hayden Christensen here?
Yes. Listen, Luke Skywalker knows Hayden Christensen, but Luke Skywalker doesn't know that that's what his dad looked like. Jeepers.
With Carol Kane, I watched When a Stranger Calls for the first time this year, and
So
I've seen her
good.
in like plenty of other stuff, but when I saw her in that, I was just like, I don't know, I adore her, and I have always loved The Ghost of Christmas Present, but her now, like, I just love her more and more, like, as the years go by, and I saw that originally they had a ballerina that was going to come in and be like a body double, but when they saw how cute she was doing the ballet stuff not very well, they just let her do it and then did an X-nay on the ballerina, and I love that. She's just so... I love her.
She's so unassuming, and I think that's what's so great about when she's, like, beating him up.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at this woman who's just like, and then she whacks him in the face. I love when they are at his brother's house, and his brother starts to talk about what he gave him for Christmas, and she plugs his ears, and is like, la, la, la. And then she's like, I know something you don't know. She's so childlike and so sweet, and and it's funny when you think about it compared to some other versions of the Ghost of Christmas Present. You know, they're all like happy men who like are, you know, a lot of them stick kind of close to the Dickensy version of what the Ghost of Christmas Present should look like. But this one, it goes in a completely different direction, and it's so cute.
Nikki,
Yeah.
for that weird movie that you want to make about the auditions for the ghosts.
Oh, with Paul Rudd, Taika Waititi, and Will Ferrell? Yeah.
You know who would end up, you know who would have to be like a contender for Ghost of Christmas Present?
Who?
Seth Rogen.
I love this. I love the direction our movie is going. I just need someone. You know what? Can someone share this with any of them? We would just want to be consultants on the film. We have a vision. We have a vision. And I'd just like to put it on paper. Can someone help us with this? Because I think it would be brilliant.
Wait, I changed my mind.
What? Okay. Go for it. Shoot.
I don't know the actor's name, but Witcher season 2 just came out and he's in that. The actor who plays Tormund.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Because he's got the red hair and the big beard.
Yeah.
Can't you see him doing like a traditional looking Ghost of Christmas Present? Yeah.
Come and know me better, man. Yes.
Actually, no, I'm writing the scene right now. So Seth Rogen is the favorite, and maybe Taika could be the one like directing it or something. Like he's the one like deciding.
Yeah.
And Seth Rogen is the favorite, and everybody likes him. And then Tormund comes in and like kills it, and then Seth Rogen's all like, "Oh no, that guy. You choose that guy."
Yeah, because the angels can't really battle each other or they'll end up in hell and then they won't be able to help anybody. Oh my God, we just figured out what the twist is. Oh my God, I'm like M. Night Shyamalan over here.
A twist.
What a twist. And now the angels go to hell. What a twist.
But, you know, in talking about all of this is why I think some things like A Christmas Carol, or even in a weird way, High Fidelity, like I think it's very fun to have these original stories that are so good just as a story on its own. You read the book and it's good.
Yeah.
But then you get these continuous adaptations that all have their own type of signature and they're all good. Because I feel like they try to do that with things like Dracula and I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's like just because there's never been just a really great adaptation of the book. Instead, everybody wants to be cute and come up with their own shit. And with A Christmas Carol, there's a ton of very decent adaptations to the original story. So you have deserved the room to make something like Scrooged that plays with it and makes it unique and fun and reaches modern audiences. I adore that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's kind of, A Christmas Carol is kind of like Play-Doh. You know, you can stretch it and pull it and mold it into all these different ways because it's the basics that you really need. You need a guy who's out of touch. You need 3 people who visit him and try to change his life. And then you get the ending where he's kind of changed. Whereas other adaptations of A Christmas Carol, even just the book itself, I don't believe that Scrooge is actually going to change. Scrooge seems like the type of guy who's like, oh, okay, Christmas time is here. And then like maybe a couple months in, he realizes that, you know, he can't really help everybody. He can't really do everything for everybody. And then he becomes crotchety again. And that might be the only raise that Bob Cratchit ever received. But when it comes to the movie Scrooged, I actually felt like this is a big change. And this is going to really affect things.
Well, and think about how original Scrooge in the story, a lot of what fuels him to change is still being selfish. Like he gets really affected when he finds out that when he dies, everyone's going to talk shit about him and just take his stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not exactly a good reason to start to be not a total piece of shit.
Yeah.
Whereas Bill Murray, when he's like, and this part scared the shit out of me too. When Bill Murray's in the casket and it's lit on fire, and when he escapes that moment, what he's yelling is, I want to live. Like, he wants to live. He wants to have a life. And then he is upset before he's in the casket because he sees his brother and his, like, everything is a little bit more about others and other people and wanting a second chance at life. Not just, well, what's my legacy going to be once I die?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really... I felt like with A Christmas Carol, he's like, with the book, it's definitely about not being alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but when it comes to this, he notices as he goes through, especially with the Ghost of Christmas Present, and he sees how everyone around him is actually acting when he's not around.
Mm-hmm.
He realizes that he can implement change, and what he does actually affects people. Whereas with the Charles Dickens version, I agree, he's still selfish, he's very narcissistic. The only difference is now he's like, okay, well, maybe I can have people over in my big giant spooky house that I stole from my dead friend.
Yeah, it also, I think it brings it down to a level that we're all a little bit more used to, that it's not just it's not as extreme, I guess, with Tiny Tim's gonna die and all of these people he's forcing them to basically work in, you know, the freezing cold and everything. Like that's pretty extreme compared to what a lot of us deal with nowadays. Like, we're gonna make you, you know, work in this factory for no money. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not that extreme, but it still affects people. So like Grace, he gives her a towel as a bonus for Christmas.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe her bonus would have only been a few $100s or $1,000 or something. To her, that's a lot of money. And to her, like, that situation does not sound as extreme as Tiny Tim's going to die, but it's still going to affect people in big ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's Tiny Tim. I'm sorry, I can't stop thinking about Tiny Tim dying now, so thank you.
Sorry.
Like, everything else I wanted to say just flew out of my head because it was just like, Tiny Tim. But yeah, like, if she had been giving her a little bit of money would change her life. Especially once you see, like, where she's living and the lifestyle that she has to live up to. And yeah, I feel more hopeful. I feel more hopeful after watching this one.
I always feel very hopeful and happy after watching Scrooged.
Like, I just, like, after I watched last year's film, like, what everyone calls the #1 bee's knees version, which it is. It's so faithful to the book.
Faithful.
It's almost like you are literally watching the book on screen. It is to
the point where, like what we talked about, they actually recreated some of the original illustrations.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It's crazy when you, like, I went back and listened to our episode from last year to prep for this one, and I was like, yeah, that film was, like, spot on. I mean, it's no Rosemary's Baby, you know, hail Satan. Hail Adrian, hail Satan, hail Rosemary. But it is, it feels weird to say at Christmas. I am so sorry to the 3 angels who are visiting with me on Christmas Eve. We'll get it together in time. But it felt like a really good page to screen. I said it, take a shot. Adaptation. And I just forgot where I was going with this whole thing because now I'm worried I'm going to be visited by 3 angels. Help me. But yeah, it's the movie we watched last year was the
Are you okay?
I think I broke it.
I think you done broke your brain.
Boop, 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 boop. I think I can figure out where I was going with this. The film version.
Be careful. Roger Ebert's going to say you're acting manic.
Well, as we know, we don't trust those reviews. I still find, like, even though it's a really faithful adaptation, the one we watched last year compared to the book, I still find that this one, while not a direct page-to-screen adaptation, I said it again, it's still extremely faithful. And it's extremely faithful to the tone of the book, maybe a whole lot more than it is to the actual writings in the book itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
So I guess my question to you is, you know, we used to ask this question all the time. We don't ask it anymore. I mean, I know you're going to recommend the movie. Mm-hmm. But what are your feelings on the adaptation-ness?
if I were to pick a Christmas Carol adaptation to watch, like I only get one this year, it would be a very hard toss-up between Scrooged and Muppet Christmas Carol, but I would still probably pick Scrooged because I think the Muppet one I love because I love the Muppets, and also I just grew up with it. Like since I was very little, I watched that. That was my first time with A Christmas Carol, so it's very special and nostalgic for me. But if I put the nostalgia aside, I believe that Scrooged is better.
Wow.
Yep.
Ooh, them some fighting words.
I love it. And I mean, for me, a big one is disagreeing with the way that a lot of people took it, where they said it was too dark and too sinister and too cynical. And that's the point. That's the point. Like, you have to have that side of it. And I think that's what makes it so much more fun. And I think that this movie has so much heart. And I love all of the different characters. This is a weird one where I wouldn't even change that much of it. We haven't even talked about little things like the special effects. One of the things I loved about the adaptation that we watched last year was it's surprisingly good special effects for that time and with the production company. And with this one, the special effects are amazing. I think they only lost the Oscar because of Beetlejuice, which is understandable. Like,
yeah, you can't go up against
good,
Beetlejuice.
Good movie.
It is really good. I love, one of my favorite things is, and I'm 100% certain it's a full-on puppet, full-size puppet, and I would have to go back and double check because that's what it looked like to me, was the big hand of death.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm in a toss-up of whether it's forced perspective or a full-size puppet, but I think it's a full-size puppet.
I think it's full-size.
And I think that's amazing. Anytime, listen, I guess everyone knows this now. I love the Muppets. Anytime you can use a puppet, use a puppet. I'm putting it out there. 2022, more puppets, please. Because what I liked about it was the realism of it for something that's so fake. Like, you see it and you're like, oh my God. You know what I mean? Like, it just comes out of the television. Like, that thing is spooky, too. Let's get real. Can we talk about how spooky it is when it's on the TV screen behind him?
Yes.
Kind of like the girl in the ring. I was like, oh my God.
Well, even when you see the dead guy in the cold, that part scares me too.
And it's sad. That part is sad.
It's very sad. Very sad.
Yeah. And I think that's why it makes it so much more important that he has that entire speech at the end. Because we literally just lived through some of the saddest, scariest moments. Mm-hmm. And then it's you need that cheerful moment at the end. You need a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I don't care. I don't care what the haters say about Bill Murray. I love Bill Murray.
Yeah.
And I know that he's probably. There are a lot of rumors about people not liking to work with him. Mm-hmm. I mean, even with this film, there are things about how people said that he was difficult to work with. I don't care. I think he's funny. Mm-hmm. I should care, but I don't care. I think he's funny, and I think he brings a lot to the table. And I also think it's super interesting that right before he did this film, he was living in France, and he was just like, I don't want to act anymore.
Yeah, 4 years.
Yeah, and then he decided to do this. Like, that puts some sort of weight behind it.
And it's when you think about Bill Murray as a person and the bit that we know about his personal life.
Yeah.
It seems like he did gravitate towards the character. So when you take that into consideration with his lapse in acting, the fact that he had a decent amount of night shoots during this movie, the fact that he is in almost every scene. Yeah. I mean, he's in almost every scene. I think the only scenes he's really not in are like Bobcat, some of the TV stuff when they're filming, and then the rich people at their house. Aside from that, I think he's in everything. I mean, no wonder why he's stressed. Yeah,
I would be stressed too. Like, it's hard. And you have to think about the films that Bill Murray was doing previous to this, things like Caddyshack and Ghostbusters, were ensemble pieces.
Right.
He's literally carrying this entire film, and it's the first time he's having to do it. So that puts a lot of stress, being the person who's in the most.
Yeah, and although, I can't say anything because I've never seen any other version of this movie, I love this final product. I think it's great.
Yeah.
There's nothing I would change, but I do understand that he said that Richard Donner had difficulty with comedy, which is something that you've seen in other Richard Donner movies.
Yeah.
And that he kept telling Bill Murray to go louder and bigger, and Bill Murray was trying to get a little bit more subtlety. And I can see that being frustrating too, because that is something that directors who maybe aren't the best with directing comedy do.
I think and this is just like, I did improv for a while at UCB, and I think that this is something that when you start working with people who don't understand comedy, and this is not like a UCB thing, it's like a thing, like I used to audition for TV shows and movies and all of this stuff when I first moved to New York because I thought I was going to be an actress. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. I work in an office because I needed real money. When you do those sort of things, I don't think people fully understand how comedy works. The funny bit isn't being the loudest person in the room. It's not always about, having the funniest thing to do. Like, the straight man is often the funniest person, Right. So you need that sort of give and take in comedy, and I notice that a lot, especially when it comes to kids' TV shows now, where they're just like, let's do something loud, let's do something crazy, let's do fart jokes. Kids love fart jokes, and it's like, no, there's like a subtle nuance to comedy that I don't think a lot of people get, and I totally understand it when it comes to this film.
Yeah, and also to Donner's credit, so I do want to make it clear, like, he obviously he did like Superman and Lethal Weapon, and I find Clark Kent to be really funny in Superman, and Lethal Weapon obviously is funny. But what you just said is you talked about the straight man, and in both Superman and Lethal Weapon, you kind of have that.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't work, and I'm thinking specifically about Superman, it's the Lex Luthor scenes, because the Lex Luthor scenes are way too campy.
Yeah.
They're the worst part, and it's because of that I don't think the comedy works for what they were trying to do. And then you've got Scrooged, where you've got Bill Murray trying to play with both being a completely unlikable character but making it funny, and then being a likable character but making it kind of heartwarming and serious, which is a struggle. And then you've got Donner telling him to just be louder.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to help him.
That's not how this works.
No.
You could be the loudest person in the room and you're not going to be funny. Like,
well, think about that amazing line after, when it's the break between the Ghost of Christmas Present and when he finds the dead body. He just goes, "That bitch hit me with a toaster."
And
it's so funny.
And it's done in a way, it's not very loud. It's done in a factful way where he is also where we're at, where we're like, oh my God, he just got hit in the face with a toaster. Yeah. And you need him to acknowledge it, and that's what makes it funny.
It's so funny, and a lot of stuff in the movie, like, I don't even think you could... It's easy to not catch stuff.
Yeah.
Like the whole dinner scene when he sees the guy on fire and he sees, like, the eyeball and the thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff, like, just condensed in that scene that I don't think I got the first few times I watched the movie. It was like over years I finally am seeing everything I missed.
Well, I can tell you, I know for a fact the first couple of times I watched this movie, I did not understand that Richard Pryor line. And then I got it and I was like, okay, hold on. I was like, did we really just, okay.
That is probably one of the only, like, critiques I would give of this movie, and it's one reason why I think, like, the Ron Howard Grinch fails in a way. It's one reason why I think stuff like Deadpool, even though all of us liked it when it first came out, I feel like it's not going to age very well, just because there's so many very, like, at that moment jokes that I don't think age very well. And yeah, the Richard Pryor one I definitely did not get as a kid, but now I get the joke.
Yeah. And honestly though, as a 30-something now, it's not funny.
It's not funny. It's not.
It feels like that part to me always felt like it was something that when they were running it over and over and over again, Bill Murray probably just said it off the cuff and they were like, do that again.
Yeah.
Because it kind of feels semi-forced, especially when you think about what happens immediately after when he slips trying to leave. And I think that's funnier than the
That's
Richard
way
Pryor
funnier.
line, and I know that he didn't mean to slip, and I think it's so funny.
Yeah. And like think about, have you seen the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead?
Yes.
Okay, you know how there's a part when they're looking at the zombies and they call one of them I think they call her Rosie McDowell. Rosie McDowell. What? Who did I just create?
I don't know, but I'm scared.
I'm scared too. I cannot take another Nicole Kidman, Lucille Ball. So no, they call one of the zombies. They say that she looks like Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah.
And it's just such a cheap joke. It's such a cheap joke. It's not that funny, and it's gonna get even worse in another 15 years when nobody knows who Rosie O'Donnell is.
Yeah.
And like the Richard Pryor one feels like that. It just feels like it's not that funny.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Yeah, I would say that if I could fix anything, it would probably be that one part. Everything else plays fine. Everything else kind of carries over and still feels fresh, except for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Like even the TV shows that they're saying you'll love it, they don't feel that aged. You know, they still feel like things that people are trying to sell you now.
Yeah. Nikki,
yes.
How excited do you and I get every single year when it's after Halloween and we're going to Thanksgiving and Christmas and one of these live musicals gets announced?
I love it. I live for it. And then we both torture ourselves watching it.
How much fun would it be if you and I were both watching a live Christmas Carol and this happened? We would be dying.
I wouldn't just be sending you messages. Like, I would be calling you on the phone. Like, drop everything. I would be like, listen, I know that he told you that you can't watch it live, but you need to turn it on right now.
And that would also be one like, listen, I know I don't talk on the phone a lot, but you need to answer me right now.
Yeah. You know what? I would even FaceTime you. I don't care how I look. I would have to see how you were reacting to what I am seeing.
There is a man having a mental breakdown, but I think I'm on his side.
Yeah. I agree with everything he's saying, but also like, are we going to get the end of the show?
So the NBC headquarters is right now being held under guns. By
Well, you know what? That's what would probably happen. What would probably happen is like the camera would cut out and it'd be like bum bum ba bum 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 ABC news break. NBC headquarters are currently being held under. We interrupt your program to bring you this live breaking news. That's what it would be like instead. And that would break my heart.
What I mean, are you telling me that nobody asked to press charges on Bobcat after all that?
Well, no, because they felt a little love in their heart. I mean, he's now like super high up in the company. He is. Can you sue the guy who's super high? I do think like that's something that I think about too. Is like, is he gonna have to pay for the damages to the studio? Did the Solid Gold dancers get paid out for the entire time they were there, even though they didn't fully get to perform?
All of them have sexual harassment claims.
Oh yeah. What about Mary Lou Retton? Did she get to do her big flip at the end? I'm so many questions.
There's a lot of contracts that were broken that night.
And what about that poor little boy who didn't get to finish his whole thing? I know he was about to go run down that street and get the goose as big as him. What about him? What if he was is he equity, non-equity? How does this fit into his resume?
How happy are you, by the way, when Buddy Hackett accidentally says sea urchins?
So good. You know what? That's something we haven't talked about yet. He is so good in this.
He's so cute.
He's so adorable. Little tiny Scrooge. Little baby Scrooge. I love it.
I do like the comparison with Frank as the, producer of the show versus God, what's his name? John Glover. Who is a favorite pop culture actor of mine. He's in like everything you didn't know it. So when John Glover comes out and he's like, sea urchins, it's street urchins. Like he's so fun the way he is assisting with the cast. And that's to me is like a good director, a good producer, and not the Frank producer who is telling people to show more nipples and staple
you
mice.
can't even really see the nipples.
It makes you laugh. See, you can't see
There's
him.
so many good lines in this stupid movie. They're all like one-off throwaways, but they're so funny.
They're so funny.
But you know what? To that respect, though, too, John Glover is kind of a dick too. Just a little bit, especially when, like, Frank's all like, "I'm the only one who gets to call dinner," and he's like, "Oh, well, I'll just gather everybody up, and you can call dinner then." You know what I mean? That part was like, I thought you were the nice guy. You're kind of a dick.
No, he's definitely kind of a dick.
Yeah.
He's the, you know, the schmoozer 80s guy, but he's not quite as greasy as some of the other, like, American Psychos out there.
Yeah.
Like, he's more likable, but you know he still has that in him.
Speaking of American Psycho, there's a part in this movie where Bill Murray looks at camera and he's wearing like his suit or whatever, and every time he does it, he's like super neurotic acting, and all I can think of is Patrick Bateman.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah, and I was like, and then it got me thinking, like, last night specifically when I was watching it, I was like, what if American Psycho was made way back in the day? Would Bill Murray have been Patrick Bateman?
Why does everybody want to cast Bill Murray in, like, the weirdest parts? No, he can't be Patrick Bateman.
I don't know. I could see it.
But what concerns me about this is that what if that caused you to have an obsessive crush on Bill Murray when we were in high school?
Who says I didn't? I didn't.
Do we even know each other? Who are you?
I appreciate Bill Murray as a person. I think he's hilarious. He has a golf line. He golfs all the time. Listen, I love him in Space Jam. He's so... What? Tell me you don't love Bill Murray in Space Jam. Say it.
My favorite part about Bill Murray in Space Jam is that he's wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah. Of course.
He's like, absolutely not.
I like when he's at the golf course and he's got that umbrella hat. I can't.
No, here's the thing about Bill Murray. And it's like two of my favorite movies that I watch a lot. Actually, I watch both every single year. Scrooged and Groundhog Day are both very similar. Both have this like extraordinary thing that happens to an asshole and then he turns good at the end with a cute brunette. So he has presence and he has a bit of unique Bill Murray swagger, and he's got this, he's very funny, he's very smart, and he's in all these movies with a lot of heart. So that to me is actually way more attractive than just some himbo. I have pleaded my case for Bill Murray.
So a bit of a Cinderella story, you mean? I could do this all day. But yeah, okay, let's do a full-on scale then, because last year we agreed the movie that we watched was chef's kiss, perfection when it comes to the book. On a scale of, Hallmark Channel original movie version of A Christmas Carol to our Rosemary's Baby, Hail Satan, Hail Rosemary, Hail Adrian version of A Christmas Carol, where on the scale do you think it fits?
I would say it is, if the one that we watched is like 93% correct adaptation, I would say this one is like 80% adaptation. And the extra 20% that was not in the movie, I adore. I love it.
So
I keep saying adore, but that's like the word I have for this movie.
I would agree. I would say this is about an 80. Because it brings back in a lot of stuff that a lot of people omit. And it continues that dark theme. So I agree with you. I would say this is an 80. If we were to do a ranking of the films, which maybe we will. Maybe we should. Oh my God, we should. If we were going to do a ranking, as we move forward with this annual screening of A Christmas Carol, I mean, it's definitely going to stay in the top 5.
Mm-hmm. Well, right now it's last.
Yeah, it is. Uh-oh, you got Eat, Pray, Love status now.
Don't you dare compare those two films.
Could you imagine Bill Murray and Eat, Pray, Love?
When you said that, I got angry. Like, I don't even want we all love Bill Murray. I don't want his reputation tarnished that way.
I agree. Oh my goodness.
You know who actually, can we please send her out to 3 Ghosts, please?
Yes. Let me call up Will Ferrell, Taika Waititi, Paul Rudd, the 3 angels to go and visit her. Hey guys, you free?
You know, there's one thing I want to say real quick before I forget it, because I've already forgotten it multiple times. So one thing I like about the look and the way that they are portrayed, the ghosts, it actually comes off as sort of like a fairy, fae, playful type of creature rather than just a straight ghost.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think it's really funny. Even like if you look at their ears, they have like prosthetics there, and like there's just little things off with them, like how she's all glittery and everything.
Yeah.
And then he's got like steam coming out of his ears. I find that to be really fun and playful, and you don't get that playful side of characters like that. Like, you know, like he's almost more like a poltergeist in a way than a ghost.
Yeah, it's like a Shakespearean version of what the ghost should be. I'm following.
I think that's cool. Yeah, I think that's cool. I think it makes it more interesting.
It really does. It adds another layer to it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. You know what I don't like? You know what I don't like, Christina? This is the last page to screen of 2021.
I know. It came really fast.
It really did. Oh my God. And, you know, prior to this recording, Christina and I actually solidified
we did
our year in review, our year of books. Ooh. Should we say it? Should we tell everybody? Should we tell the people at home what they've won?
My only problem with our list is that the top, 10, I think are all really good. So it's extremely difficult.
It really is.
Putting some of them above or below other ones. And so some of it comes down to, because some movies I actually like more. Like The Birds is really low. Like I would watch The Birds more often than some of the movies that are higher up. But I think what we've done over the years, we take into consideration a lot of things. So the actual adaptation part of it is very important. So that's the reason why it gets really difficult at the time.
Yeah. This has probably been the hardest thing that we've done for the podcast is ranking these books, and it kills me when I know that we have to do it. We put this pressure on ourselves. We didn't have to, but
I know.
we're doing it so the listeners don't have to worry about it. We're doing you a service.
Yeah.
It is kind of heartbreaking when you take did someone just show up on my book list? It's a little heartbreaking when you take a look at this list and you're like, oh man, but this movie should be here. If we were to separate out the films from the adaptations, I think this list would be
different.
Yeah, completely different. Mm-hmm. So, should we take turns reading it?
Sure. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Do you want to start the list?
The easiest one we've ever done. Yeah. Number 1 for forever, Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah. Number 2 is The Godfather.
3, High Fidelity.
4, Interview with the Vampire.
5, Crazy Rich Asians.
6, Waiting to Exhale.
7, Wizard of Oz.
8, Emma.
Oh, it's me. 9, Scrooged A Christmas Carol.
Boop, 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 boop. 10, Hill House.
11, Jaws.
12, A Night to Remember.
13, Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
14, Jumanji.
15, The Birds.
16, Forrest Gump.
17, Twilight.
18, Born on the 4th of July.
19, Valley of the Dolls.
20, Mommy Dearest.
Oh, God. 21, Old Possum's Book of Practical Gods.
Oh, okay. 22, Ready Player One. Oh, no.
20. Yeah, here it comes. 23, Pray Love.
Eat, Pray,
Eat,
Love.
Pray, Love, sorry. Yeah.
But you know what's great is that's the last time we'll ever have to say that book title.
Yep.
I mean, we're probably gonna like. That's a lie. We're gonna say it again. I know it. Like when we say things like "at least it's not,"
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
or at least we could say it's better than.
Yeah.
But we will never have to look at it on our book list ever again.
Yeah.
And that is our holiday gift to all of you.
Put a little blank in your heart.
Wait,
Wait, no.
you can fill in the blank with a lot of things, Christina. I think you should fill in the blank.
I was trying to think, like, they say put a little love in your heart, and then I was like, well, I don't want eat, pray, love in my heart. It's just a bad joke. It's don't listen to me.
Don't. But with this being our last episode of 2021, Christina thought it would be fun to just quickly talk about the books this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Christina, which of the books on the list surprised you the most?
High Fidelity.
Yay! I just want to say that I'm so glad that we read that because, like I said on that episode, I've reread that book a lot. Mm-hmm. And we got really lucky that the TV show was available on Hulu, so we got to watch that. And you know, it's just it's a fun book. It's a fun book.
It's one to the point where we always like on Valentine's Day, we usually watch some sort of like rom-com movie, and I've been ever since High Fidelity came out very anti-High Fidelity because it just made me feel not great. And it wasn't that long ago where I thought like, oh, that'd be fun for Valentine's Day. Which is a weird one to pick. Like, it's not actually that good of a movie to watch on Valentine's Day. But I don't know. Like, I feel like rewatching it already. Like, I really enjoyed it. And I'm glad that you and I were able to talk about it. Yeah. And we went back and forth on things. And it was just a really good exercise.
Yeah. I know. We talked a lot. That was a long one.
Yeah. Well, what about you? What are your surprises?
My biggest surprise was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
The genie in the teapot?
Yes. Oh, I cannot. Every time something tricks me, I call it a genie in a teapot. It has changed my verbal lexicon. I can't handle it. And this is a movie that I loved watching forever, and now I watch it and I'm like, I see what you did there. Like, the movie version of this is nowhere. It's not even the book. Like, it is insanity to me how they were able to get a film out of that book. That's where it's at for me. Like, how did this happen?
I feel like that one, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and then also Forrest Gump were weird ones because I don't know why anyone really like read either original book and thought movie. Yeah. Like it's just they're weird books, and then the movies completely bastardize what the original book is, but end up being better than the original book. Yeah. And it's like very hard for me to wrap my head around it.
No, I agree. It was something else. I will say another book that was shocking to me was Jumanji.
Well, we shocked ourselves with that one.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say was that. It still makes me laugh to think that we were like, I can't wait to read that novel.
Well, it goes to show the thing that I always say at work, which is double check what you do, because the one time you don't double check, you're going to mess up, and then you're not going to correct your error before, it's too late. And for me, I feel like every single time we went to pick something, I would always look up if I could easily access it, like to make sure that I could actually get the book. And then I also usually looked at the page amount. That way, when we were deciding it, I knew I was giving myself enough time because I am a slower reader. And even if I do audiobooks, I can't just like listen to one in one day. You know what I mean? Like it's going to take a while. So I usually do my research before we pick a book. And that was the one time that I think you and I were both just like, let's do Jumanji.
Yeah.
And then we said it without knowing that it was just a picture book.
That was a last minute pick, everybody. Last minute pick. Literally as we were recording. Oh no, we don't have another book. Let's do Jumanji. Great. I've never laughed so hard as when we stopped recording and you went, it's a children's book. It's like 8 pages. I was like, I'm sorry, it's what? It's mostly pictures.
I was so confused because I'm looking at it and the audiobook was only 15 minutes. And I thought, well, that can't be right. And so then I go over to Goodreads and I see one of them listed it as like a 20-page book. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
This is about the time we dove into Aunt Joe's scrap bag for Old Fashioned Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, on the other end of surprises, I had two opposite reactions between Eat, Pray, Love and Twilight. I thought Eat, Pray, Love was going to be really good, and it's not.
Yeah.
And then Twilight, I expected to really hate. And to be honest, I really didn't hate it. Like, I don't care for it. I will never, like, go back to either one. But if you said something crazy, like, let's do Breaking Dawn, like, I don't think I'd even fight that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Speaking of Twilight, I have a Twilight update. Twilight update. A few episodes back, I mentioned that I checked out the new Twilight book that came out that's all supposed to be from Edward's perspective. And I do have an update. I made it 4 chapters in and then returned the book.
I was so hoping you were going to say, like, it was great.
No, I was like, I've already read this book.
Well, is it, like, very different, or what's it like?
Well, I only really made it 4 chapters in. What I appreciated about this, is that we get a little bit more insight, not too much insight into Edward. He's still pretty closed off, but about how frustrated he is that he can't hear what Bella is thinking. I almost called her Emma. What Bella is thinking. It frustrates him, and the interesting way he goes about it is he's purposely listening to other people's thoughts about her. So I thought that was interesting. And it kind of explains a little bit more about why he was, like, such a dick, you know, at the very beginning and stuff. But there is something that they put in this book that bothered me. And that is, because we know that Alice can see the future. She straight up sees Bella becoming a vampire. Like, there is no romance there. We're led to believe that this book is all, like, the Twilight book and the whole series is like this romantic vampire love story. There's no romance there because it's predetermined. So I was kind of like, oh, okay.
Well, I remember I cannot believe we're
I know. Oh my God, I know. Look at us. Look how far we've come.
But no, doesn't Alice say that she can see the future as it is currently going to go, but it could change depending on if the motives of different people change or their decisions are changed. So is it possible that in that moment, Edward was more likely to turn her, or
no? See, that's the beauty of it. He was very mad. Very mad. And for a while, he wanted to actually kill Bella. Talks about it a lot. Actually, you know the scene in the movie and in the book where Bella first walks into that classroom and he's, like, gripping the chair and all that stuff, and he's just, like, snarling or whatever? In this version of Twilight, it goes into deep discussion about how he thinks that he could easily murder all of her classmates so that none of them get away so he could murder her because he doesn't think she runs fast.
It's just so crazy. I mean, do you remember that part in Pretty Woman when Richard Gere tries to murder Julia Roberts in the bathtub? Oh, wait, no, that didn't happen.
I don't think he ever thought that. Like, this is so bizarre. It was so out of the realm of what I was expecting. And that's why I kind of was like, I think I'm going to stop now. I think I'm going to try and pick it back up, and I will read the entire thing, and I promise to give an actual update. But that's as far as I got, and I was like, no.
I don't understand, like, how does that even come up later? It's not like one of those, like, my husband Carlos and I, we had like kind of a not date before we had our first date. And years later, I told him like, oh, I was so broke before that not date that I ate a cup of noodles on the way to the date just in case you weren't going to buy me food. And that was just like one of those like funny things like, hey, I didn't tell you at the time, but now here's like this funny thing to tell you. And, like how are Edward and Bella just like on the beach and he's like, hey, you want to hear something kind of funny?
They can't go to the beach.
So when I first saw you, I was going to murder everybody in the room and then kill you.
Christina, he can't go to the beach. Remember the werewolf said no.
Whatever.
God, it's like you didn't even read the book.
I am exhausted and I didn't even just read this thing.
I will say I am upset that I didn't get to the part where he starts getting the zoomies.
The zoomie.
You know, he's like running around the woods like, do I scare you? Hi, I'm sorry. My dog has the Edward Cullen zoomies. She'll calm down soon, I promise.
Come here, spider monkey.
Stop it! Oh, I wonder if that's in the book.
I don't think you have any idea how fast I really am. I'm fast as fuck, boy.
Oh my god, I cannot. You know, I have to read the book to find out if he calls her a spider monkey in the book. I have to do it.
Does he? I don't think so.
No, but this is his perspective. Maybe in his head he's like, look at that sweet little spider monkey.
So they're going to retcon the spider monkey in this book?
Maybe. I don't know. I am intrigued. I mean, listen, I just read a whole chapter about how he wanted to kill all of her classmates. I'm good. I'm good to go.
Well, that is not the only book that you continued after our podcast episode, because you also read Ready Player 2, correct?
I did read Ready Player 2.
Yeah.
Why
do you do this to yourself?
Because I hate myself. I definitely would not recommend Ready Player 2. It just reinforces everything that we said about...
Yeah.
What was weird about Ready Player 2 is it kind of reinforced the aspects of the movie versus the aspects of the book. But it's still, just like in the book and the movie, for Ready Player 1, you know, we have this strong female character who suddenly at the end becomes codependent. And that is just all the way through Ready Player 2. I was not a fan of it. It was very... I don't know. I still wouldn't recommend it. I think its spot on our book list is 100% perfect. I'd put it lower, but we read Eat, Pray, Love, so there's that.
I'm honestly hoping, because I think it's fine. Like, I enjoy when we, like, between a couple different episodes, it's fine if we don't love something or like something. I mean, the Genie in the Teapot I thought was fun. Yeah. Like a fun reaction that you and I had that was not exactly a positive one. But with like Eat, Pray, Love and Ready Player One, like I don't want to go to that place again. It's just like there's nothing about it that really made me
It put me in a dark spot.
Yeah, same.
I felt wrong after after reading Eat, Pray, Love, I felt disgusted. Especially after the India stuff that bothered my soul to the point where I read the entire Bridgerton series to clear my head. I had to do something that was not important and I could easily do in a flash. And I had already read the Princess Diaries series the year before. So I had to do something quick. Every once in a while, you just need like a mental flush. Read something quick and easy.
Well, and you've read so many books this year.
I have, and so have you. Christina, how many books did you read this year?
Oh, is it 33?
Dun dun dun. I'm gonna tell you because I'm in my Goodreads app right now.
Oh, now I'm rushing to it.
I'm gonna look. Christina has read 33 books.
And actually, it's 33, but I will probably be at least 35 before the actual end of the year.
Nice. I'm at 42 right now.
Holy shit.
Well, you know what's really funny is if you look at where I was at in 2020, because I didn't have a job for an extended period of time because of COVID, I actually read over 50 books in 2020.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So reading 42 while still holding down a full-time job.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'm proud of myself too. And the funny thing about my Goodreads list is that, and I honestly thank you, because the only reason why I was able to do this is because of the podcast responsibilities. So kept me on my toes.
Listen, and it's going to happen again next year. Keep it going.
No, with Goodreads, I've had this joke where when I originally joined Goodreads, the first year I did the reading challenge, I put it as reading 30 books, and I didn't make it. So the next year I'm like, well, now you got to make up for the year before, so 31. So that you've seen, this is 4 years of me not making my Goodreads, which is why my reading goal was 33 books, and this is the first year I've actually met my goal, so pretty good.
So that leads me to my next question. What book did you read in 2021 that was not required for the podcast that you thoroughly enjoyed?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Let me think. Oh, they've got a couple good ones. Okay. Actually, I've got two. So one of them I just finished reading, which was Yours Cruelly, the Elvira Mistress of the Dark. It's the Cassandra Peterson memoir. I loved that. I thought it was really good. I definitely recommend it if you're someone who's into Elvira. It's just so funny. Like the way that she writes, it's the way that she talks. Like she is just so funny, and I found myself laughing out loud multiple times. And the other thing is just she's met so many people. I mean, she's 70. Like, she's been around for such a long time that it's just so cool when you come up to people like that. I mean, like, another one, like, I would love to read a memoir of, like, Kurt Russell. Like, there's these people who have been around for so long, and they've gone through so many things and met so many people. And her book was just fun. So that one I loved. And then the other one I really liked was I finally read the Caitlin Doughty books. So she's the person who works in death care, and she wrote Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and From Here to Eternity. Both I loved, but From Here to Eternity I thought was really cool because she's going into different cultures and looking at death care, and I found it to be inspiring and angering. I learned a lot. Like, I don't know, I both of those I enjoyed through and through.
Nice. And are you reading anything right now?
Yeah, I've got a couple things right now. So one of them, maybe not, is our first book of next year, and the other one is I am still reading Disney's Land, which I know you read too.
I'm still reading it too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
I haven't
we're both
finished
still
it.
reading it.
I haven't finished that one, and I'm trying to finish it, but here's a life update, everyone. I moved, so I haven't found everything yet. Yeah, oops. Moved right around the holidays. Brilliant. Where are all the Christmas presents? I have no idea.
Well, what was the book that you really liked outside of this podcast?
I shouldn't have asked you that because I knew you were gonna throw it right back on me. One of my favorite books this year was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Yes, I've been wanting to read that.
It is so good, and I was so thoroughly engrossed in it that when it ended, I was sad. Like, I love when you read a book and it, like, as soon as it ends, you're like, what do you mean? Is there more?
That's such a bittersweet feeling.
Yeah. That's what I love and hate about books, is that you can live in this world for so long, and then once it's over, and you're just like, how do I, like, where do I go from here? Like, you can't just leave me like this. Like, it's always, it feels like a really bad breakup every time you finish a good book.
Yeah, the last time I felt like profoundly like upset that something was over was I read the Starman graphic novel series, and those were collected in these like omnibuses that I think it's like 6 of them. I read all of those, and when I finished it, I was like sobbing, like I'm crying, like finishing it. It was so good. And then I just remember I finished it on a Sunday, and like the next day at work, I'm like sitting in a meeting like, but you guys don't understand.
Yeah.
Like a lot just went down, okay?
And that's what's so great about this podcast. I mean, not just being able to talk to you. That's probably my favorite part about this is getting to hang out with my best friend, and we talk about the things that we love, books and movies. And oh my God, you guys, you don't even know what we talk about before we start recording. It's mostly Disney stuff, don't worry. But there's like, it's when you read a book and you finish a book and it's something so good, something like, you know, High Fidelity or Waiting to Exhale, you want to talk to somebody about it. Like, have you read this book? It blew my mind. And that's what I think is so great about having this with you. And I can't believe that we're already into our second year of doing this, because it just means I get to have more time to read great books, or maybe not so great books. I mean, who knows? And just get to talk to somebody about how great or how awful they are, instead of just like sitting by myself and being like, Jesse, oh my God.
Yeah. And like, I think that the nice thing too is that you and I both have a lot of overlapping interests, but there are books on our lists that you and I wouldn't necessarily read. Like, we wouldn't pick it immediately. So it kind of like forces both of us to read different things, both like that both of us maybe wouldn't pick, but also maybe that I would and you wouldn't, and vice versa.
Yeah. We're expanding our horizons.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah. I know, and we're only going to expand more into 2022. We've got so many ideas for the books we want to do. We haven't actually solidified that list yet. We probably should. The year's almost over.
I know. I was thinking that, like, when I pulled up the list today, I was like, oh shit, that's right. We got to finish.
Yeah, we start. Look, Christina and I are great at starting things. When it comes to finalizing it, we're both kind of like, oh, what now? Did we not do that already? Oops, because I saw that too when I pulled it up. I was like, oh, that's right. Oops. So we'll be back with a whole lot more books and a whole lot more interesting things to say about them, and I can't wait. I'm going into 2022 positive about books and movies, not about anything else.
Do you want to announce what our first book of 2022 will be?
Sure. Wait, we picked that already?
We picked it. What are you talking about?
I haven't been paying attention. Oh, we did pick it. I'm looking at it right now.
We need a break.
Yeah.
We need the holiday break just to like drink some eggnog and watch Muppet Christmas Carol
on repeat. Okay. Just say it. We picked it. Just say it.
We are doing How Stella Got Her Groove Back.
I'm actually super pumped for this to be the first book of 2022.
Yes.
But I don't want to put the cart before the horse, because I said the same thing about Eat, Pray, Love.
I think we're doing a better gamble this year. I think that we are informed consumers. We're going with Terry McMillan. I don't think she's going to let us down. Yeah. And I think that How Stella Got Her Groove Back, I believe, will have the type of energy we were looking for this year and failed miserably at obtaining.
Actually, when you think about what we brought to the table in 2021 with Eat, Pray, Love, I think that was a consistent theme for the year. We apologize.
I think it was good. It was just like, it's not our fault that Hollywood doesn't make great adaptations every time.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with you, though. I do think that How Stella Got Her Groove Back is going to set us in the right mindset to dominate 2022. Mm-hmm. And I'm ready. I'm ready. Bring it on, 2022. Fight me.
I'm ready, but only after I take a Christmas nap.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to need... I need like a little bit of holiday cheer now. And then I'll get into being awesome and amazing. It has been a year. But honestly, there's no one else I'd rather do it with, Christina. So thank you.
Same. This is one of those years that like 2021 just in the world doesn't feel half as bad as 2022 felt for me.
Yeah.
Personally, but it does kind of feel like a lot of us, I mean, you're talking about moving and everything. I feel like there's a lot of growing pains right now, and growing pains are always very difficult. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that in the next year or two, it's gonna be good. I think.
Yeah. In 2022, we have some things cooking. Who knows? Maybe we're actually gonna see each other in person. Don't worry, you guys. We are vaxxed and boosted. We're doing everything we can. I'm holding on hope. It's going to be a wild ride next year, and we hope that you all stay with us and just keep listening. And we hope Jesse doesn't quit being our editor because he makes it sound really good.
Yes, thank you, Jesse.
Yeah. And you know what, Christina? Happy holidays to you and your entire family, and especially to Carlos for letting me take you for hours at an end.
He doesn't mind the recording, but what he minds are things like watching Annie live. Like that's really kind of what gets to him.
Hey, at least it wasn't the Grinch.
Yeah.
Just throwing that one out there.
Even like Twilight, he like came in like, what's going on here?
I will say, you know what? That was also the greatest part about this podcast is getting Jesse involved in the shenanigans, because when I watch a movie without him, he's like, you did that one already? What do you mean?
Yeah,
I'm like, oh. So it's always a joy. It's always a wonder that we make it this far. And here's to not being visited by 3 ghosts, because I think you're perfect just the way you are.
Aw, thank you. And I think you have a lot of love in your heart.
Aw.
The most love in your heart.
Got a little love in your heart. You know what? The world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see.
I love Aretha Franklin.
Oh, bless. Oh, my goodness. Well, I hope this episode brought everybody some much needed holiday cheer. And, go watch Scrooged if you haven't yet. Feel free to tell us we're wrong. It's fine. We won't, like we said, we don't read the reviews. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say.
No, I think that's a good wrap up.
Yeah.
I hope everybody has a pleasant and safe holiday season, and we always thank you for listening in.
Thank you guys so much. And Christina, I'm going to talk to you in the new year.
Oh, I'm going to talk to you in probably like 5 minutes. I'm not going to wait that long.
I know. Yeah, I was like, I said it and I was like, that's a lie. All right. Well, for the last time in 2021, bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.